maybe.
Was our first date on a podcast? That is a thing. The date night podcast. That's a thing, right?
I've been to a recording of it.
You've seen it live?
Yeah, but it's silence. So everyone wears headphones like this, and it's dead silent.
Mm-hmm.
There's no applause. People are whispering.
But you're listening to them talk, aren't you? Because like it's kind of like a reality TV, kind of, right? No.
Well, yeah, it's at Gray's, and they invite people, I think, to the bottom of the restaurant, and then keep the top part of it open.
Sure.
And then they have to choose. I think people like apply to the show, like Love is Blind. So, yeah.
I knew there was a girl that I knew that went on that show.
Yeah.
At some point.
I have known nobody that's been on the show because I follow the feed on Instagram too of like who they picked for the week. And I feel like I've seen people that have had other friends, but I'm interested to see when Love is Blind Minnesota comes out and if people know on there too.
I was going to say, do you feel like you've heard any new, what is the word for it?
No, because they stopped shooting. I mean, they're done shooting already.
They're editing everything now and putting it together because it's not even this. The next season is not even Minneapolis. It's something else, right? The next one to air is something.
No, the next one is Minneapolis. I'm almost positive the next one is Minneapolis because they were done shooting last fall. Because that's when I got a text that somebody was filming it in Blacksack. I think they filmed a lot of it in St. Paul.
Why? No shade to anybody listening who's from St. Paul. So hello and welcome to the Average Bros Gym podcast, where your average shows with eerily similar names, Corey and Croy, sit you down and talk about life advice with I forget the intro every single time.
I know, I always wait for you to mess it up whenever I'm listening.
But it's like you're waiting for the way that I mess it up because it's always different every time.
Yeah.
No black and white takes. No polarizing something, just genuine advice and good conversation. There we go.
I feel like even if you were just saying blah, 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 I would still be like listening to it. Like,
oh, that's sweet, right? That's good. Okay. You might have noticed that I'm joined by my girlfriend, Meg, today. So she is on a podcast. The first time I've talked about her several times, so many times. I feel like every episode I mention you. I do know you're listening. So I'm like, she's going to hear this and she's going to laugh or smile or whatever. One of those things.
I mean, my dog has made more of a guest appearance than I have at this point. So
that's his second. This is Murph's second appearance. This is your first appearance.
I don't know what position he's in right now, but
he's laying down. He's being a good boy.
He loves to like rest his face on items, like even if they're like rock hard. Like set his chin.
He was doing that earlier. He was resting his body in your lap, and then he had his chin on the countertop. Yeah,
his favorite pose.
He likes to be comfortable. So we were just talking about, of course, Love is Blind, and we were talking about the Date Night podcast and just reality in general.
Remember when you didn't like Love is Blind?
I didn't know what Love is Blind was.
Now you're out here watching every episode, yelling at the TV more than I am.
I do. There are those memes going on. So you showed me. So we watched Texas. Was Houston? That was the previous season to Charlotte, right?
So, yeah.
So we watched Houston or Texas, whatever it was. I mean, Houston is in Texas. Yeah. But
the filming, whatever it was.
Yeah. And we watched that, and I really got into it. I did because you, as a bystander, I mean, I get why people like reality TV because I used to watch The Real World back in the day. This was way, way back in the day. Early 2000s. It's back in the day for me, and I get why. It's like, I mean, you get to see people act a fool generally. Love is Blind is less like this, less like Jersey Shore, less Real World. There's less fighting, but it's more you get to see into people's like relationships, and you get to see them essentially dating, but it's with it's much higher stakes dating.
But you're dating to be engaged without seeing somebody.
Yeah, tell us for the listeners who maybe don't know what Love is Blind is. Tell us the general concept of it.
Yeah, so you apply to the show, which
did you apply to the show?
A little embarrassing. Yes, I didn't actually apply, but I filled out part of the application because I was encouraged to go on the show.
This is while we were dating. She did.
No, it wasn't. But it was a little bit before I met you because that's when I found out that they were filming here. But you get selected to be on the show. They choose singles, men and women, and then they fly them out to the pods, which are little rooms that have kind of a blockade in the middle where you can't see the other person that you're talking to. And at the end of the timing with the pods, which I think you spend like 10 days in there, several couples might come out with proposals and engagements. And then you spend, I think it's similar to Married at First Sight, where you spend like 6 to 8 weeks with them and then you decide whether you want to get married. But Love is Blind, they can say I do at the altar or I don't, versus Married at First Sight is like an arranged
You actually
marriage.
get married and then
Get
you have
married.
to divorce legally.
Right. So it's a higher stakes environment, I think, for sure, because you got to trust the matchmakers that you're being paired up with. You're being paired up with somebody you've never seen, never met, never talked to. And you got to tell your family that, like, they give you like 2 weeks to tell your entire family, hey, I'm getting married to somebody that I don't know.
Well, and the way you put that, because when I was watching this show originally, so this is Married at First Sight. Married at First Sight is like Love is Blind. The idea is you get to talk to someone before you meet them. So basically, it's like, can you fall in love with someone who you've never seen via their voice, the conversations you have, right? And some of these couples work out, right? We've seen some of these couples work out from prior seasons. And so, like, yeah, I think the concept of course, yeah, you can fall in love with someone. And plenty of people don't meet before they fall in love. Plenty of people meet online, especially these days. But this is a game show about it, kind of, or like the reality show about it. And whereas Married at First Sight, I never really even thought of it as an arranged marriage until you said that. And I thought, well, actually, that makes more sense. Like,
it's just not an arranged marriage by your families, which is kind of what we would be used to hearing in an arranged marriage, is that families would correspond and then somebody would get matched that way by families. This is, I think, 4 or 5 matchmakers working together, and they get interviews similar to like Love is Blind too.
It feels like just a very throwback, like back when marriages were arranged for like land. It's like a throwback of like, hey, we're gonna get married, and maybe not for gain, but
you hear it as like somebody's like last, I want to say last ditch effort, but I feel like the gentleman that we were watching, that's 41 on the show, he's like, oh, I never really thought marriage was in the cards, and I dated people who were wrong for me, and now I feel like I'm finally ready to just throw all the towels in and just go for it.
But the common thread is these people want to get married. These people have this idea of like, I want to feel this feeling or be in this relationship or this partnership. And so, yeah, I didn't watch reality for a while, and I still don't really, but these shows have kind of gripped me in a way where it's like,
90 Day Fiance is better than both those.
90 Day Fiance, God. And was that the one we were watching with like the brides are all like non-American? A lot of them were.
Well, 90 Day Fiance is about the K-9 visa.
Sure. Okay, so that makes sense.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. I could have just said that was the wrong visa. But it's based off of a process. When somebody comes here on a temporary visa, they have 90 days to basically test out the relationship and get married for that person to become a citizen of the U.S. So
what's
that's like a trial period?
Ones? Yeah, what's the
I would actually say they're more successful than Love is Blind and Married at First Sight. Because they meet traditionally, like they meet like on a trip, like you'd meet someone normally on vacation or on a school trip, or people have met like in religious trips or whatever. But a lot of them meet online, like similar to like Hinge or another dating app where you might meet somebody.
Now, what we like, you and I have talked about this throughout our relationship as well. We've been dating for over a year now. We've just moved in together. Hence this studio space, or the podcasting studio is taking place, in new space. So we've talked about
this lovely lamp showcased in the back.
Yeah, I gotta figure out what to do with that lamp. I mean, we could theoretically have a little small table here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just gotta figure out, because this is gonna be the podcasting studio, so we gotta figure that out. We got a little art in the background.
Art in the background. The picture's like the size of the wall. It's so big.
Pretty much. We've got the closet space to my left, to your right. Yours, no, actually, it's to your left too.
Yeah. It's okay.
Thank you. So yeah, we're working on this space figuring it out. It's taken a while, so thanks for your patience on that, because you like to just get things knocked out quick.
Yeah, but I feel like so the way that we moved was that I needed to get out in a day. That was it. Like I needed to get out that day. Your process wasn't really like that because you had a little bit more time, and also I feel like we spent the entire day moving all of my shit.
We
here.
moved. We if we include the when you put your stuff in your car, like the very first minute you put your stuff in your car on that Saturday, we were moving you
for over 10 hours.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Back and forth, back
and
and
that was
forth.
a single apartment, like just me and Murph. It was like 500 square foot.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't even that much more than my apartment.
This is 700 something. Right?
Yeah, it's close to 800, I think, with the patio.
Oh yeah. The patio. That's how I get you.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what I was gonna say. We were talking.
Okay. Well, you had more time to move out.
Yeah.
And
well, so we just moved in here. So you and I have been together for a while, and we were talking about, we've talked about our prior dating histories, and you mentioned Hinge in this kind of like talking about, okay, all these, I can see in your face already. We were talking about all these like the Love is Blind, like the dating shows. What was your Hinge experience like? I'm kind of curious. Maybe people want to know a little bit.
Oh my God. It was not great.
Besides awful.
I think the hardest part that I had was it's just so hard to carry on a conversation when you have this weird looming expectation that you might date this person. So much easier to form a conversation with someone who you feel like that pressure isn't over your heads of like, I find you attractive, you find me attractive, let's date. I feel like the way that you and I met was very organically, and I feel that that's the way that most of my previous relationships have started too, versus meeting someone online, kind of a forced conversation, and then you're forced into almost an anticipatory date and continued relationship.
There's that. I feel like you might engage in like a small talk almost, or like this small little message, but ultimately there is that idea of like, okay, when is this going to be a date? When is this going to be a date? And I think you run into issues when you have maybe different expectations. Maybe one person thinks it's going to be a date in this sense, and then maybe that person gets busy, stops responding, whatever. Like the prioritization of it is very different as well. That's what I ran into a lot.
Because I bet you were bad at answering.
Yeah, it was that like, yeah, there were times where I was like, it was like 2 days later, and then I would message back and they wouldn't respond. I'm like, I get it, like that makes sense. But then I would have times where I'd be messaging with someone, and it was kind of just like a conversation back and forth. And I was like, okay, cool, like I do want this to be a thing that we talk and date. And it felt like at that point, that whatever person I was talking to wasn't really into it. It's interesting. I never had any luck on those dating apps. Really, I went on dates, but it was just like that was very Hinge, especially. And I can get in the monetization of that stuff. I can get into the ways that they drag you down, but I won't get that deep because that's a whole nother soapbox to talk about. But
yeah, I feel like the experience, I'm not gonna knock it because I do feel like I have had friends who have met successful partners and have gotten married on it. I just feel like personally I was really uncomfortable with the pressure of this has to turn into a relationship if we continue dating. And a lot of the times that I feel like I felt a good conversation or a good connection with somebody, they would be like, well, it's our fifth date. Are we exclusive? Are we dating? It's like, I don't even know you. I've met you 5 times. Like I don't even know who you actually are. What do you mean were we dating? You know what I mean? No, I'm not ready to have you meet my parents. No, I'm not ready. It just kind of felt like rushed in a sense. But that's, I think, me. I'm more of we've talked about attachment styles before. I feel like I hold my cards kind of close to the cuff in terms of when I do start talking to somebody, although that wasn't the case with you.
Yeah, it was kind of the opposite with us in a way.
Usually I'm the opposite. But yeah, I feel like in most relationships I've been kind of more of the avoidant attacher.
Sure. Which is interesting because I'm the anxious one in a lot of my past relationships.
And I don't think you were looking.
No, that probably would help a lot. Probably helped that I wasn't. And it was interesting because so full disclosure, Meg walked into Orange Theory, and that's how we met. I was coaching, and obviously, I never have asked anyone out via Orange Theory. It's always been, if someone's coming in and and they want to ask me out, because I've been in situations before where to be honest, there's a woman that comes in and maybe we like engage. I'm like, oh, let's play flirtatious, and I'm like, oh, maybe they're into me. And I looked them up on social media, and then they have like a fiance.
They're
I'm like,
married.
okay, I was like, okay, I got the wrong vibes, or it was like completely innocent and whatever. And also like I try to make sure that because women also go to gyms to exercise and work out and take care of themselves, and they don't go there to get hit on. At least probably 99% of people. And also as a coach and in a class environment, it is very different. It's structured. There's a power structure, and like that's just gross to me. Unless someone was really giving me vibes, and even then, I've been wrong before. So you actually were reaching out to me first, because when you walked in, I was like, damn. I was like, oh, she's really hot. And so,
and I had no idea who you were.
No, I know.
I got a recommendation to take your class from somebody that I work with.
Shout out.
Claire
yeah,
did that. Yeah, that's Claire.
Yeah. We love Claire. Shout out Claire. So that was what's up, Claire? So it was yeah, so you got the recommendation to take my class, and you came in, and I think you were like one of maybe 13 people in the class, maybe 14, but you're the only person that didn't know, because I've been there for a while, so I know most members. I was
the only person that rotated in the wrong direction, and yes, I have been an Orange Theory coach before everybody.
And you rotated the wrong direction for class, and I came up to you and said, hey, we're actually supposed to...
And I lied, and I said, did I say?
You're like, I know. Actually, I just want to do
I know I was a coach before.
You didn't say it like that. You said you're basically saying like, oh yeah, I know, like, because I think you had mentioned already that you had been a coach, so we had already talked about that, so that was established, and I knew that going into it.
Did I say that?
At some point we were talking.
God.
Because then
I feel like I tried to like insert myself into like every conversation that you were having, and I was like, well, this is getting a little bit aggressive, Megan. Like, you need to chill out.
Which was funny.
Like, have a great vacation to Florida.
I did have a great vacation. So thank you. Well, it was like, because then we had seen each other a couple of times. You'd been in a couple of my classes, and then I think you followed me on Instagram, right? It's it's social media. It happens. Like, that's a lot of people meet that way. And you inquired about my tattoos.
That was the connecting piece.
Yeah, that was the in.
And then I feel like you were like, here's the tattoo place. Conversation over.
You asked me where I got my tattoos, and I gave you a very literal answer of where I got.
Yes, that is exactly what happened.
Well, I think like I felt that from you. I was like, I think she's into me, which was really exciting, but I was also like very like, oh my gosh, I don't want to mess it. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't want to. I was very keenly aware that you were a member. And I was like, well, wouldn't want this to, us to go on a couple dates. And I was thinking too far ahead. I was like, I don't want to go on a couple dates, and then she doesn't like me, or like something happens, and then she doesn't come in anymore. Like, I don't want to be a woman's reason for not coming into a gym anymore.
I think that's what's super hard with like dating and fitness in general. Is like, if you break up with somebody, will you return to the gym that they go to? Not, or I would say even with like working out in general, if you and your partner go to the same class, it's like, you always have the expectation of like going to the same class with them, like have your own time. I mean, it does get a little bit like challenging, I think.
And I've had that happen before, where I was dating someone in the same space. We broke up, it didn't go well, and and a lot of that was my responsibility, and so I was like, well, we'll make sure that everything goes. But yeah, then that was when we had our first date, and that was just a little over a year ago. So.
Crazy.
Copper Wing Distillery, shout out Copper Wing.
You're the only two people there, and Tony,
yeah, we were there, but we were the only person there, like at a table, but there was the bar. People were at the bar. Yeah. But it was a smaller night. It was a pretty chill night.
Just tip for everybody, if it's a good date, you will probably stay till bar close and be kicked out.
We did get kicked out.
But I hear that as a common theme for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, imagine, and you don't have to imagine. I mean, we did
Imagine,
this. Imagine this happens because this happened.
picture this.
Where it's like I think you and I both. So we both work in with people.
Mhm.
We both work with clients in person, and so like we're both very good conversationalists. And I'd say we're both fairly introverted actually.
I'm super introverted. I'm
Yeah.
more introverted than you are.
You are.
Yeah.
But that's something that people that would know us would be like, oh, what the fuck, really?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we generally, need time to recharge. And that was why kind of fitness coaching, because you'd done fitness coaching throughout your entire
Yes, I
life,
have, yeah.
throughout your life. But that was why Orange Theory, part of the reason why is kind of like, ooh, this was tough for you.
It's super taxing on
Yeah.
me. I'm really, really good at one-on-one conversations. Like I can do those. I do those all day at work. And I can talk a little bit more too about what I do for work. I think you've alluded to it previously, but I'm very good at one-on-one conversations. Not so great when I have to keep energy up for an entire group of people. It's really challenging for me. And to do it for a sustained period of time. So I applaud people that can talk to masses all day long. But there's a difference, I would say, in some of those personal conversations. I feel like with fitness assessments for you, you are digging deeper. You are getting more in-depth conversation. You're getting a lot more information. You're having more one-on-one connection. But then you've got to bounce to kind of, I don't want to call it surface level conversation, but almost like the weather and how somebody's day was with like 50 people. And then you got to go zone back into one person.
Yeah.
So I applaud people that can do that and bounce between one-on-one coaching and coaching to the masses of 30 plus people.
Well, it's it's tough because there are times where I've got 42 people in a lobby plus, and I think one of the reasons we are the way they are, and one of the things I pride myself on is just having at least those personal connections where I know someone's name. That's a really big thing. We just talked about that today as well in one of our trainings. It's your name holds a lot of identities to people, right? I love folklore mythology, as people of this podcast have heard before, and as you know, as my girlfriend.
So many books.
And like that's a big thing in lots of different cultures. Is like the name carries this power, right? In like in Irish folklore, if you're ever like dealing with like the fae, the fairies, like you never let them know your name, because if they know your name, they have power over you. You can't like leave their domain.
Didn't know that. Interesting.
And it's probably across other cultures as well, but it's kind of like, so the name is really important. So just having that connection with someone, being able to address them by name, like, the biggest thing for me in that sense is like having someone feel comfortable and feeling welcome and feel like they have a place of their own. My biggest, because, I've been in the fitness industry for 10 years and I've been doing group fitness for 8, 9 years. And actually I've been doing pretty much this whole time. But I always remember, I was driving to work one day in Plymouth. This was back in 2016. And I was driving in rush hour traffic, and I was so frustrated. We both get a little road rage.
A lot of road rage here.
A lot of road rage. And I remember driving in traffic, and I was so frustrated. And I thought to myself, like, I don't know what this. I was like, everybody who's coming to my class tonight is going through this exact same traffic. And I was really like, it kind of hit me really hard. I was like, fuck, I can't carry this in there. And I think I've had ups and downs. I've had bad days, good days, but ever since then, I've always tried to be on this really, really strict trajectory of like, I got to make sure that when someone comes into my class, like they feel like that is one of the best parts of their day, if not the best part of their day. Mm-hmm. So that, and yeah, I don't dig deep with I don't dig deep with as many people as I want to. And like, it's hard. I can't have a full deep conversation with someone who's, I'm only have a couple minutes with. But I at least want people to feel like they're welcome and like we know them and like care about them.
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
I would say so. Croy has talked about me before on the podcast and what I do. So I'm an occupational therapist, but I work with many roles, but I mainly work with individuals who are suffering from work comp injuries and have chronic pain. So I deal with people that have opioid addictions. I deal with people that could have something as simple as a rotator cuff tear and repair to a massive head injury. and catastrophic injuries. And I feel like they need that as part of their day. And that's a similar tone of making sure that when they come to the gym or when they come to the clinic, that it's a safe space for them to be able to vent if they need to. I've heard people even vent to you just kind of on the side about, hey, I had this really awful day and blah blah blah. For me, it's more or less venting about symptoms, pain, what they're going through. They haven't been listened to by anybody. If you don't know somebody with a work comp injury, it's probably one of the most interesting fields I think I've ever worked in or had the experience of working in. So my background is also kind of somewhat in fitness. I'm a personal trainer also, but I kind of went and dove more into the orthopedic side of OT and I love it. But yeah, it's a really, really cool field to learn about because you're not only treating somebody based off of their pain in their body, but also based off of their mental state. It's very much wrapped into one because when you take somebody's not only their physical abilities away, but also their financial capabilities for them and their family, that's pretty big, impactful on their lives. So
Yeah. No, and you play the role of therapist in, you know, the occupational sense, the physical sense, the emotional sense. Like you pay you know, the therapist role in so many different ways. Um, and yeah, you have people that, like you said, they feel like they've never been listened to, and so when they have someone like you who actually listens to them, that floodgate can come open.
yeah, you have to be a chameleon. I would say not only in the fitness industry, but also in healthcare. That's the biggest thing I've ever taken away out of 7.5 years of schooling. Biggest takeaway is you be a chameleon to whatever the client needs for you, or the whoever you're treating or a member or whoever, and whether that's being silent and just letting them talk, or whether that's asking them a lot of different questions and building that rapport by asking questions about their personal life and what they like to do and where we always ask people one of the dumbest questions, but we always ask it, and for some reason people like really respond to it. Where do you live and what area are you coming from?
I mean, they really want
And
to talk
people
about
are
it.
like, "Yo, I'm coming from this." No, it's like the icebreaker question
Huh.
in Maple Grove, and like I don't know why, but it just is of like,
Came
what
all the way
area
here
are you
from
coming
Croy.
from? Like it's like, well, how long's your drive here? It's like, oh, 30 minutes. Oh, well, great. Okay, well, let me get you started on some blah blah blah. Like that's like the icebreaker question.
People love talking about that kind of stuff. I feel like that's small talk of like Minnesota, and you know, if you're not from Minnesota, you might not realize, like, if you have standard weather, we're probably not talking about the weather as much as we are, but it doesn't matter if it's winter, summer, fall, spring, nice, hot, cold, moderate. We'll talk about it because
That or traffic.
or traffic. Yeah, but there is always fucking traffic.
Yeah. Well, I think in the summertime though, with people with construction, more people are like, oh, my drive usually takes me 30 minutes. It took me 90 because of the
Babe,
construction.
in the Midwest, there's two seasons: winter and construction season.
Construction, yeah. Yeah. The only difference though is here in Minnesota, the speed limit is 25 on the highways versus in Green Bay, it's 70.
Yeah, yeah. You have this like Wisconsin driving superiority complex, but I
I
get
think
it.
that's because we have Milwaukee and Chicago where everyone drives 90 down
Sure.
the highway and
Yeah,
it's acceptable.
if I had a dollar for everybody who merged on the highway going 30, I'd probably have a lot of dollars.
Too
I'm not
many
gonna lie.
circle ramps.
Too many. That is, we do a lot of fucking circle
Suggestion.
ramps. What happened,
I
Minneapolis?
feel
You
like everyone's
school.
tires are probably bald from the circle ramps.
My tires were bald when I almost fucking spun out on 494 back in the day.
Well, at least there wasn't a beer that exploded in your back seat during that
Yeah,
unfortunate.
a non-alcoholic. Does that make it better? I feel like it was worse.
No,
The
no, I
non-alcoholic
think
beer.
it is worse because it still holds the color and the stickiness and the scent, but it doesn't even have the alcohol in it.
So I'm moving all my stuff. I still have shit in my car. I'm trying to
Poor
move it.
dude is still moving the stuff.
I'm moving everything
That took
around.
10 hours to move mine.
Well, it's also like I I don't know. Maybe I should have rented a U-Haul for like a day
Runs 3 cars.
because it's like I just can only fit so much in the back of my car. It's like a hybrid. It's like an SUV, but
But
it's
there
not.
was space for the NA beer that did explode yesterday.
Mhm.
What did you think? Like, what was the reason behind it? It was like a pressure change, or
Probably, I think it was the heat. It
I
had to have
mean,
been, right? I mean,
yeah, I
because otherwise it was just in the parking lot. And so I had all my stuff in the car, and I was bringing my supplements over. My supplements being like amino acids and like electrolytes and creatine,
I have to
essentially.
try that amino acids energy stuff that you want.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's not like great, but
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, you can mix it with the electrolyte.
Sounds really good.
I mean, no supplements like delicious. The only ones that I found that are really good are like pre-workouts, but you can only
I
obviously.
thought that was a pre-workout,
I mean, it has 100 milligrams of caffeine, but it's not like
the natural
yeah.
pre-workout.
I don't know. I like the tartness of things.
You need to chill on the sour stuff.
I'm drinking a watermelon sour right now.
If I've ever seen anybody just be able to eat an entire bag of sour candy, I'm like, who are you?
Yeah, and that's me. And then I get like a canker sore.
Yeah, for real.
But I love it.
The sourness.
But yeah, no, it exploded my car as I had one can of beer and I was like, I might drink this at some point. And it was non-alcoholic. It was like I don't know what it was, like a porter or
I
something
feel
like
like
that.
you got really excited putting it in your car too. Like, I might drink this. I'm gonna put it in here.
Yeah, I'm gonna drink it and like not feel shitty the next morning.
Yeah, I feel like I knew what your intention was putting it in the car. But I feel like the cons definitely won here because it did explode and you did not get to drink it at all.
No, and it went because I heard the pop, and I was first it was terrifying, and then
I
you
can imagine.
almost like you know if it was like a tire, like someone hit. I mean, you didn't feel anything, but I was like, someone hit me, like did someone like
That would scare the living daylights out of
Like what
me.
the
Oh
fuck
my
happened?
god.
Yeah, and then I turn around and just see like the foam spilling all over the seat, and I was like, oh my god, it was like it was like a horror movie. It was like blood, but it was just NA beer like dripping down the seat of my car.
What's the worst thing you've spilled in your car? I don't think I even have a bad answer for this. I think it might be like something just like reasonable, like coffee or something.
Yes, because we don't have kids.
No, but somebody that I know spilled an entire jug of milk in their trunk. Yeah,
it just
disgusting.
smells so bad afterwards.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the summertime. I don't know. Maybe it's not even.
I mean, I don't know, but like either way, even if you like park in a garage or something, your car's still getting hot.
I mean, I spilled that beer. So the new car, and by the new car, I mean like I got it like 3 years ago. So it's not really new anymore, but
somewhat new.
It's newer for me. I mean, my old cars were all like $200 a piece, so one was $2,000 a piece, but or one, and that one always lost hubcaps. I don't know what. Like I don't know. Every like other day, I'd walk out and be like, where'd the hubcap go? And I didn't like ever notice them falling
someone
off.
stole it, or like
No,
it
they-
just rolled down the
I
street.
don't think anybody stole like jank ass Hyundai Elantra hubcaps, but I swear to
You
God,
never know.
It was like
It was a Hyundai.
That was true. It was. It
Or
wasn't
Hyundai,
Kia, though.
excuse me.
Hyundai. Is it? I think it's Hyundai.
I
Whatever.
think that's how the Midwest people say it.
Well, whatever you pronounce everything, jank. But yeah, anyways, that car, I probably spilled worse things than that one because I would eat in that car.
Okay.
Try not to eat in this one as much as possible. I drink, but I try to eat in it.
I've definitely eaten in your car before, so I apologize.
No, I know, and so have I.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think you wouldn't have eaten in my car when I wasn't there. Like,
how would you know? You weren't there.
Did you take? Now that you have access to my keys, you're just taking my keys.
I don't
and going in
know.
my car and eating shit.
No, I don't know if I would go specifically to your car to eat stuff, but yeah. Well, anyways, we cleaned up the beer and it is gone, but all your stuff is still in the car, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I think moving wise, it's fairly normal for people to still be unpacking things for like a month.
Yeah, my brother said that. Shout out Remy, and also throwing Remy under the bus. He's like, yeah, I've been in Rochester. He's been in Rochester for a while, and he still has fucking boxes. But also, like, I think when you also know that a move isn't permanent, like, there's that part of your brain that's like, I'm not gonna use this right now. I'm just gonna keep it packed because I might only be here a year or two.
Sure.
And he's doing his. I think he's entering his second year of residency. And he's at the Mayo Clinique.
What area is he in now? Wasn't he
Just
in?
basically doing family practice.
Yeah, I think the
General,
last
general
time
med, gen med.
though that he came to your parents and we were over there, I think, well, maybe that was around Christmas time when he was doing like OB stuff.
We should really have. I need to have him on the podcast because it would be interesting to chat with him. Obviously,
He probably has some crazy stories.
Probably.
I feel like your brother is so like unfazed by like wild things that happen though. I feel like somebody would like be in the emergency room and he'd be like, I got you. Let me just do this quick.
We'll figure out. Remy, hit up the pod. We'll see what happens.
He's so calm. I feel like he'd just be like, all right, let me just lay back. Let me figure it out for you.
I got all of the rage.
Yeah.
Inherited from my.
It's okay. Yeah. You make up for that with your charisma.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah.
You got to find someone who's going to match your energy, and you match my road rage for sure. So.
Yeah. Yes. Well. Yeah.
You have to find someone who gets mad at similar things as you. I think that's the key.
What did you say? There was something that you said the other day that I was like, oh, when I told you about that, a client was hit with a Nerf ball in our gym, and you were like, "That's gonna be a lawsuit."
Or I was like, "Well, no, it's like, well, I'm not gonna tell the whole story.
No, that's okay.
But it's like, if you get injured, and
while you're in the program,
people that are working there are doing dumb shit.
Yeah.
And that directly causes your injury.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know the law.
No. Yeah.
I don't know the law. I've never tried to know. I took one sports law class, and
you've never tried to know the law?
No.
He knows no laws.
I don't know. I don't even know what I can do.
Breaking laws all over the
place. No, I'm not. For anybody listening, but no, it was.
He does have an ankle bracelet on. No, just kidding.
No, I don't actually. I did have a bracelet on, but I broke that at some point in my life.
Are you in an ankle bracelet?
No, a normal bracelet, a wrist bracelet.
Oh my gosh!
Standard bracelet. Would you have still dated me if I wore an ankle bracelet? Wait, hold up. No, this is a good question. Everything else is the same. I'm the same person, same personality, same looks, but you find out third date when we go, because the third date we went to the pool, right?
Third date we went to the pool, yes.
They went to the pool.
Although you were wearing jeans, I think, on the first date, so you would have hit it on the first date, but I think you were wearing shorts on the second date.
I was wearing shorts, but I could have worn socks over the ankle bracelet.
I would have seen that.
I would have known. I would have known. I would have seen that bulge in the sock.
You would have seen that, totally.
Okay, so third date, we go to the pool. I'm wearing an ankle bracelet, and it's like a flashy gold ankle bracelet. What do you do? Are you still dating me right now? Are we still living together?
Okay, so you mean not like a house arrest monitor? I thought that's where you were going with this.
Either or. Which one is better?
If you were just wearing a plain gold anklet, that's fine.
Okay.
I actually think that I love kind of like a dance on that boundary between like feminine and masculine.
That's why when I painted my nails, you were pretty chill with it. You actually took me to paint my nails.
I thought it was kind of funny that you were like totally introducing yourself to the woman and like asking her like, what are you asking? How long have you been working here? And like,
that was really nice.
Kind of stuff. She was very sweet. It was a little funny, but I
was like trying to. I was like, I bet no one asked them about their life. I wanted.
Yeah, she was very responsive to it. If somebody was wearing a gold flashy bracelet, I think that would be fine. But if somebody was wearing a house arrest monitor, that would be a different story.
Yeah, you'd be sus on that one. That'd be a sus move.
Yeah, I think that would be sus. I think, especially if you're gonna like blatantly like not say anything about it. I'm very much like a person of like, if you explain what's going on, you hear somebody sighing in the back here.
He looks so cute in the camera.
He's like, looks like a little snowman sleeping.
He is a little snowman. Look at him.
But if you explain like where you're coming from before I would like find out, then it would be fine. Like I'm all for like somebody with a little bit of like self-deprecating humor and like just being really honest with themselves and with the person that they're meeting with or whatever. Like I'm I'm very blunt and direct person. So like if you can explain yourself and just talk about it very freely and be kind of, I don't want to say confident because you can still be somewhat insecure about things that are going on. I think that's fine and normal. But if you can just be upfront about it, then it is what it is.
Sure. Okay.
I feel like I'm almost more uncomfortable if somebody just like had that you like put your leg out on the chair to like tan it. I'd be like,
Say
what is
anything.
going on?
Okay. Well, that
Yeah.
makes sense. I think that's pretty normal.
Yeah.
You want to know what the hell is going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Percent.
Okay.
Huh.
We're still dating. That's good.
Would you okay, so how would you feel if that happened to you?
I'd be curious. I'd want to know what was going on. I'd be like, how and why did you get that?
What's that called when you have somebody that's like assigned to you after you get out of jail? What's that called?
I wanted to say counselor. That's why not a parole
No.
officer.
Parole officer.
Yeah, yeah.
What would you say if somebody just like walked into our date and there's like a parole officer there? Oh, that's my parole officer.
PO. Yeah, I'd ask about it for sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like, oh, that's weird. I'm just gonna not say anything and ask about
Well,
it. Yeah.
Murph is my parole officer, so
Oh, he's the cutest parole officer ever. He's
love Murph.
adorable. We do.
Yeah. But
Okay, tell me about. Okay, so people listening might be dog people. Tell me about. Tell us, and we know Cord didn't really get into Murph as a human.
Sure.
As a dog, he's whatever. He's human too.
He is human.
He's wearing
He
a dog.
came out of my body, so please.
You carried him
He
for long
is.
runs. Okay.
So Murph actually was a nickname that I was looking like, what? Who just called me? It's okay, buddy. Murph is actually a nickname that I got kind of through college and through grad school because my initials are MRF. So Murph was a shorthand for my old nickname. But I had applied for maybe 5 rescue dogs when I wanted a dog and got denied for all of them. It was something with my work schedule. It was right after COVID, like a year or two after COVID, because Murph is 3. So he was 2021 puppy. And hi. But yeah, he honestly was just a puppy that I ended up looking for and just like going for it. And I walked in to get him in Wausau, Wisconsin, and there was a no offense against older dogs or older poodle dogs. But this older dog was there and it was like coughing and like wearing a diaper and like just looked very decrepit. And this lady opened the door and that dog came out and I was like, oh my God.
Like Murph's mom are talking shit about Murph's grandma.
I was
don't know.
really scared that it was his mom. And my mom was like, Megan, I don't know if this is going to be, this is going to be your dog. But then he came running out and Murph's 17, 18 pounds now, but he was maybe 4 or 5 when he was younger. And he came out and he immediately wanted to be held. Like immediately wanted to be held. And you don't really find that with dogs a lot. I feel like where they want to be held. He still is very actively wants to be held by me a lot. And yeah, I feel like it just kind of sparked from there. He's been with me for the last 3 years. I feel like I grew up with dogs. I grew up with collies though and shelties. So shout out to Lassie. That was kind of the family dogs that we had. But I wanted something that wasn't going to shed, and he was a really, really good option for me at that time. So he's perfect size. He's perfect size for a small apartment. He was perfect size for my 1-bedroom too. But yeah, we're socializing him a lot here in this new place. I feel like he's learning a lot more about not every dog needs to be off leash running and charging at you like he was in my old apartment where he was terrified all the time. He's learning a lot more about how to respond to another dog and how to not bark and jump and pull and all that kind of stuff that he had otherwise learned at the other place because dogs were just coming at him, not on leashes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and then we've kind of talked about that a lot, and probably every dog owner has their own take on it. But yeah, I mean, if you're in a public area, especially if it's not a dog park, like and you're around other dogs, especially in a confined space like an apartment vicinity, kind of, essentially. Yeah, you gotta leash up.
Keep your dog leashed. You never know how your dog is going to respond to another dog, because they've never seen that dog. And I feel like I've heard this so many times from I work with a lot of police officers in the clinic, and a lot of them train for the canine force, and I just remembered it's a K1 visa. 90 Day Fiance, not K9. I don't know what I was thinking. K1 visa.
You weren't just talking shit.
Whoa. Yeah. So they train different canines, and they all of them have said, don't ever keep your dog on a leash all the time. Don't ever walk without them being on a leash, because you have no idea how they're going to respond to another dog that they've never seen. No matter how well you've trained them, no matter what, they need to be leashed. It's one thing if you're out in a grassy area you're on an acre of land and the dog's running. That's one thing. But when they're in an apartment complex, you cannot do that. And I feel like I've seen so many lackadaisy people with their dogs. That's my one polarizing view for this. Please put your dog on a leash.
Yes, I mean, I think it's not polarizing, because I think the people that even the people that are diehard, like don't leash my dog because of this and this, they probably still understand the reasoning behind
I
it.
just feel like, why would you even risk hurting your dog or hurting
Well,
another
because
dog?
you also, even like, okay, you don't know how your dog is going to react. You don't know how you don't know how
Exactly.
other dog is going to react, and that's almost worse, because like how would you feel like your dog goes to play with something, doesn't respond to your recall, and all of a sudden, like, shit happens.
Or even your dog, for some odd reason, runs out into the road or runs out into traffic or something. And that actually happened to somebody. I can't remember who it was. The dog was distracted by something. They see a squirrel, they see a bird, boom, you know what I mean? They're off. And it was hit. And I kept like getting super nervous about that happening in my old apartment, because people would walk around without their dogs and people would speed through that parking lot. There was actually a gentleman that I worked with who had worked with his dog for many years on the force. One night the dog just broke, was retired from the police force, just broke, was gonna go grab him something and latched onto his arm, and dogs can do that because they're dogs,
right?
That innately they are dogs. So I think people just need to be kind of not so lackadaisy. I know they love their dog. I know I love my dog. Just be very careful and make sure that you're being respectful of other people and their dogs and the surroundings that you're in.
Well, I kind of think of it kind of like, I compared dogs to children quite a bit. And I mean that as a funny thing, but it's like, I tell that to people with children, like they're talking about their kids, and I'm like, I kind of sounds like a dog, and they're like, yeah, no, to be honest, it is kind of like a dog. But especially, with kids, it's like you love them, so you restrict them from certain things, or you educate them about certain things. Like, you don't let your kid do whatever the fuck they want, because you love them and you want them to develop. Oh, Murphy. And so it's like,
Murphy's arms are asleep right now.
So same thing with like dogs. I mean, it's like you love dogs, so you want to make sure that like they need structure in order to thrive. Like, you love your dog, so like you need to provide boundaries. You need to provide an actual like ownership, versus kind of like, oh yeah, my dog does this and this, and like, well, it's actually not beneficial for the dog. Yeah. What you think?
Yeah, it's I mean, things happen, and that's what I see even every day. I mean, with people getting injured on the job, this is something that they've done for the last 40 years. I mean, things can happen. And you just want to be, cautious when there's risk, obviously. So, yeah. Oh, he's up by you. He loves this podcast. He's their number one biggest fan.
He licked the mic. So he just licked the microphone. So he wants to be on it.
Because he marked it earlier. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, God, please no. Yeah, he is
the biggest thing with boy dogs is they mark everywhere. So if you're thinking of getting a dog, just consider that with a boy dog. We've had to consider, if you ever get a dog in the future, that 2 boy dogs will literally just continuously mark back and forth, back and forth.
Clone Murph. Can we do that?
I don't know. I think you should have a bigger dog buddy.
You should.
Like, I picture you with a big girl golden retriever.
I really didn't like small dogs until we started dating. because when I walked into your apartment and I saw a Murph, I mean, like I have to, you gotta embrace, you know what I mean? Like how, like
Mhm.
if I hadn't, and not that I wouldn't, because like look at him, he's fucking amazing, and I love you, but it's like if I hadn't done that, like that's a deal breaker. That's for sure done. Like it,
Yes, but I definitely have um had challenges with other people's animals, whether it's friends, whether it's
mm,
partners, where I'm like, actually, this is a tough.
yeah, and it didn't work out.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
maybe not, but
Uh,
maybe like with friends, you probably still fine, but that's
friends,
also
it's
less
like,
time spent with them, pretty much for
yes,
the most part.
yeah.
Yeah. Versus Murph, I mean, like I'm living with this guy now, so
He's a pretty likable dog, though.
he's pretty chill. Yeah,
Mhm.
he's really good. So, yeah, he's adorable. But, um,
I have a question for you.
yeah, okay, we're gonna talk more about something. Let's do this.
How do you think I was just thinking about this the other day. How do you think your fitness routine will change in a new place? You've lived in the same place for the last 7 years, so you've kind of been around what your routine is. How do you anticipate it changing in a new space? Or how do you continue to maintain a routine when you do something as giant as a move?
Interesting question. It's a good question. Topic of today's podcast: 40 some minutes in. No, it's actually 50 minutes in. Yeah, no, it's challenging. So I think like for me, it's actually going to be, I think, more beneficial to a degree as Murph is digging into the bin
We
over
love
here.
that. Please.
He's
Thank
looking
you.
at all my microphone stuff. So for me, I came from a duplex. I came from a house essentially, which was great. I didn't have like a gym at the house. And we do have a apartment gym here. Now, I hear a lot of people in the fitness industry sometimes, members saying, "Oh yeah, like I'm gonna quit. I've got like an apartment gym." I'm like, your ass isn't gonna use that shit. You know what I mean? Like I think it's like sometimes people will overestimate how often they'll use something because they have access to it, but in the same time they have access to it, so they won't use it. It's one of the same reasons why you pay $10 a month for Planet Fitness, but how many times are you going to Planet Fitness?
Yes.
Versus you pay $150 for your studio membership, and you're going to use that studio membership. Some people do. So it all goes down to like value and like money and how much you place on that. So for us, we're already paying rent, we're already paying this and that. So the gym is there. Now I've used it already a couple times. It won't be my main thing, but I can see it on days that maybe kind of like, so today obviously we're still busy doing things, but on days that I open, maybe I don't have the energy to drive another, you know 15 minutes to the gym, come back another 15 minutes, 20 minutes if there's traffic depending. I can see that being a nice secondary option for it, and so maybe my frequency will increase, but it won't necessarily add to my intensity, my movement of my workouts, right?
Sure, I get that.
Yeah. So I think like in general for people when they're out of a routine, I think it's very easy to start.
I think just skipping it all
Yeah.
because they're so busy. Like, I even think about how busy we were this week. Well, not this week, but last week. Of like each night was a new project of
Mm.
like, okay, we got to put together the chairs tonight. Okay, we got to paint all this stuff tonight. We got to da da da. How do you prioritize it still when you have to do all these projects? I think you almost have to like set up a time.
Yeah. Well, no, we've talked about that before as like, okay, like scheduling
And
it,
we're like actively
scheduling
going
like that.
through this right now, like
Yeah.
as we're talking about it with everybody. Of like, this is really challenging. So we're here with everybody that's doing that.
Mhm. And like you said, I mean, scheduling it, right? You have your calendar, like the same way you'd schedule an appointment. If you use Google Calendars a lot, like scheduling it there, like that is really the only way. We've got people in my company or in a series that are far more busy than I am, right, at the regional level and above. And so they have to schedule their workouts in, right? Because they actually have these calendars or like this, and this, right? A lot of people probably are the same way. So scheduling that in can help quite a bit because then it's on your calendar. And if you do everything else your calendar says, well, don't fucking skip out on the gym because your calendar says it, right? Everything is there for a
Yeah, it's like
reason.
on the list.
Yeah. And you can always make it easier on yourself. And we talked about like, having your clothes prepared for you before you leave, like making sure you have that going, like even having like your, if you take your workout, having that packed for you, whatever that is, like just having those things ready and accessible. That way it's one less obstacle for when that situation arises. Oh man, I have 20 minutes, I can go down to the gym, I have 50 minutes. And also like I used to be that person who I closed a lot back in a couple of years ago, a year
Sure.
ago. So I worked a lot of like 12, 1 p.m. to like 9 p.m. shifts.
Super hard shift to work, I feel like, because it's like takes over your morning and your evening.
Right. So like there would be times where I would maybe have a slower morning, right? Maybe I didn't get up early enough because maybe I stayed out late, right? Or stayed out, not out. I didn't really do that.
He was partying it up.
Yeah, Tuesday nights. So I just stay up late, maybe wake up a little late, and all of a sudden, I'd get breakfast ready, do this or that, and then I'm like, well, but
You have one. You and me are the same. I bet you
yeah,
there's a lot of people that feel the same way. Of if you have to work or have an appointment on that day, you are waiting for the
that
appointment.
rest of the time you cannot fill your time with anything else.
Nothing else. The appointment's at 4 p.m. I can't do anything else today.
I would sit there and I'm just gonna be
You want to
watching
get
my
breakfast?
fucking
No.
I'm gonna sit in my fucking house and watch Instagram videos for 3 hours before I leave. I'm gonna watch a
With
YouTube.
Chopped in the background.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch a YouTube video. I'm gonna watch 14 episodes of Chopped before I go to my fucking appointment. But I will not get a workout in because
No.
that's not enough time.
You will not go to any errands either. You won't run any shopping errands or anything. That's how I am too. Of
I
like,
really won't do that.
no.
You're 100% right.
Nope.
So that was me.
Even if the appointment's at 7 p.m.
Murph, stop licking your paws. And in a nutshell, that was me. Where I'd be like, okay, I work at 1. That means okay, let's say
That means I have 15 minutes.
right. I work at 1. Right now it's like 9:30. Okay, well, by the time I get to the gym, it's gonna be this time, and then I gotta be at I gotta do at least 45 minutes. But then if I get there, I have to go get food. And it was like I would just do these mental gymnastics.
You
in my
also do
head.
that calculation. I bet also when you open in the morning and you're like, if I go to bed at 10:31,
What time is it?
I have exactly this amount of time to get my ass to sleep and sleep it away. And then I feel like that's when you stay awake even later.
Yeah. When you first start opening, you have that fear of like, I'm not gonna wake up, I'm not gonna wake up, because you probably won't
Terrifying.
unless you go to bed at like 7. And then after a while, you're like, okay, cool. I've shown myself that I can trust my alarm. But even this morning when I woke up,
I didn't even hear you wake up this morning.
yeah, well, I was trying to
Quiet as a mouse.
When I woke up, I looked at
I'm
my
like clanking these cubes and
yeah, you've got your Stanley knocking into doors and shit in the morning. I did notice the other day. That's why I came out the other morning, because you were being loud. I was like, Jesus Christ. Anyways, and you're like, are you gonna take the dog out? I'm like, yeah, I guess I should do that. But yeah, no, I was very much that person. I think we can fall in that trap too of like the appointment, the work schedule, whatever weighs on us. So we don't do the things in front of that because like we think that we're valuing our time by resting. But if you're doing that every single day and you're not exercising, then you're not valuing your time as much. Or maybe it's like, for me, it was kind of this thing that I was telling myself, like, oh yeah, like I only have this much time, so I want to relax. But then I would get to work and I'm like, fuck, I should have worked out. Or like I would, there would be times where I was like, oh yeah, like my job is very active, like I'm going to be okay. And then lo and behold, I was gaining weight and I was gaining body fat while working at Orange Theory, coaching 5 days a week when I'm very, very active. And I was like, well, why am I doing this? Well, it's because I wasn't working out.
sure.
You know what I mean? I was doing I was being active, yes, but there's always the calories in versus calories out. And I was eating more than I was burning. And I also overestimated, we overestimate a lot our activity level. We tend to do that. We're saying, oh, I'm being so active. It's like, yeah, but actually you're pretty sedentary for most of the day, or your activity is like walking or doing this and this. And it's not quite like the weightlifting where it's like you do need more, like you can build muscle that way. It's like, most of our activity level is going to come from non-exercise, but sometimes we overestimate what we're doing for that. You know what I mean? It's like, well, climbing a flight of stairs is challenging, but if you do it one time a day, you have to, it's not adding that many more calories. It's not like, okay, well, I'm burning 60 calories doing this, walking the stairs instead of taking the elevator. Awesome. But then like we tend to then overeat because we overestimate the work we're doing. And it's like, oh, I can have this bar. It's like, actually, that was 200 calories. There's a difference. So that happened to me quite a bit.
Yeah.
When I was coaching earlier on.
Yeah. What you just said reminded me of, we use a lot of like mantras in my field, like, sore but safe, hurt but not harm. Another big one we use is motion is lotion, which that's Adrian Lowe, pain neuroscience education. This person actually has this PT actually has like an entire several years of research on like pain, you know.
Motion is lotion.
Motion is lotion.
Funny word.
Because that's really truthfully what it is. And if you don't keep moving, you're gonna, you hear like you use it or lose it. It's
Right.
similar mentality of like you need to keep moving in order to meet any goals that you have weight loss wise, but also B, to maintain any mobility. I see people too that are told not to move after an injury or, rest. Don't do anything. Just stay on your couch and do nothing. It's like, well, what is this person going to do to get better then? Of course, they're going to sit there and stay on their couch and become a couch potato for the next year and a half while you tell them that if it hurts, stop moving. And that's just so detrimental. I feel like I see people that literally have been stuck in the cycle of not moving. So they're developing more fear of moving and then they don't want to move. So then they don't do it. It's just a very vicious cycle. And I feel like every time I hear people talking about moving more, I feel like it's just such an encouraging thing to just even tell people to take the extra walk for your mental health. And I would say even for us in the clinic, we have people walk outside as their warm up in the summer. And I feel like their demeanor just changes so much too with walking.
Like, oh, this is nice.
This is nice. Yeah. Or like I started to form a routine by coming to the clinic every day. And I'm like, yes, you need to keep up doing this. Keep doing this. Because if circling back to what I'm using so many corporate terms here, but talking back about what you said about writing it down, whether it's in Google Calendars or something else, you write it down, you feel like you're so much more likely to do it, writing in a walk for the day, writing in whatever that is.
Yeah.
So
one of this about, we've talked in the podcast before about it. And I was more licked my knee for a minute straight.
Hey, you never stop him. He just keeps licking.
Yeah, that's true. He just likes a little sweat, whatever. Yeah. We've talked before about establishing a routine, about consistency, and about, I think it's a very big cliche, but there's a reason why it's so important. Like, you're going to do far more long term. I mean, so we have Bubs.
Crazy face.
Okay. We've got a member at Awareness Theory, one of my favorite people in the world. I love him so much. Shout out Jeff Lockett. He's great. And I've known him since I've known him for like 9 years. My legs are that tasty.
He loves them.
He loves my legs. I've known him for like 9 years since I started. And he came into Awareness Theory, started working out, X amount of times a week. He went off blood pressure medication, like lost all this weight. Like, he's a massive success story.
That's huge, yeah.
Right. And it was interesting because he's kind of, after he kind of lost all his weight and kind of, started working out, like he was, increasing his intensity and stuff like that. But he was kind of always kind of around the same after he got to a certain degree, right?
Sure.
Around the same weight, around the same muscle mass, body composition, kept coming in like 5 to 6 days a week, whatever. And it was interesting because he's retired now for the last several years. He was wintering in, he lives in Las Vegas in the wintertime and comes back in the summer for a little bit. And he came back, and this weekend, this first time I saw him today in the last 6 months or so, and he's fucking shredded. And it's like you can tell in his arms, you can tell in his stomach, shoulders, things like that.
What did he say?
And I was like, Jeff, I was like, my God, you look great. Like, and he looked great before, obviously, but it's like you can be doing something for so long, but then take it to another level. And basically, he was saying, okay, we did this transformation challenge or something at Awareness Theory we do every single January. We do a transformation challenge, 2 months. And he did the challenge in Vegas. And was like, I really just focused on the weightlifting. Like, try to increase my weights, like, try to do this and that. Like, he would do, we have something called a strength class, which is like 50 minutes of only dumbbells. He
just did it yesterday.
Just did it yesterday, Meg. And so he would do the strength class, and then he would do the 2G, the standard 60-minute workout afterwards. So he was doing about 110 minutes of exercise, right? Give and take, because you've got rest, recovery, things like that. And that's just under 2 hours, right? I mean, that's not like an abnormal time to spend in the gym if you have that time.
Yeah.
He's retired. There's, we all understand, and he's in his 60s. His kids are growing. So, time is different for everybody. Get that. But you know what I mean? You can still make progress at 30 minutes or 40 minutes of exercise. You don't need 110. But anyways, does this focus on weight training, really focuses on hones in on that. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I lost like 20 pounds. And that's crazy. And I mean, obviously your habits change too, right? You know, typically we talk about habit stacking. When you're already doing a routine, you want to stack a positive habit on that. And then that stacks up, right? Just like our bears. And so
shout out Bears.
Shout out Bears. And so if you are stacking those habits, then all of a sudden you're doing one positive thing. Typically that leads to others. Like if you are eating better, like if like I'm eating like more fruits, more vegetables, like more lean protein, you know, typically that means okay, well if I'm eating better, I also kind of want to drink better. Like I'm gonna have less alcohol, more whatever. Okay, well if I'm doing that, you know, I want to move more. So like it's those habits that continue to stack on top of each other. And so it's like you can be doing a routine for years and you got to stay consistent with it because if you quit, then you don't have the opportunity to build. What I'm trying to say is like he was doing Orange Theory for 10 years and made massive progress. And then he made like another level of progress.
Yeah.
But you've already been doing it for a long time. And that's the thing is like I've been working out since I was 13. You've been working out since, I mean, you did sports growing up, things like that. You were in dance, you were in all this stuff. And like we still make progress, even though it's years on the line. So it's like if you're, you know, quitting something or you're throwing the towel in because it's been 2 months, I've got good news and bad news for you. It's going to take a fuck ton longer than that, but like you're going to see change long term if you stick with it and stay consistent and you think about the process and enjoy the process of that. I think one of the most fascinating things is the fact that we are our own science experiments. It's like you get to determine, Meg, oh, cool, this training isn't really working for me. I'm going to try this. Oh, okay, this felt really good when I do this. I'm going to do more of this. Oh, I saw a really big change when I did this. Let me try more of that. You know what I mean? And you don't have to do one thing. You don't have to, you know, and if one thing doesn't work for you, it's not like, oh shit, well, exercise isn't for me. It's like, well, no, maybe like unicycling wasn't for you, but you can still do other things, right? And so that's kind of what
well, you have to do like I feel like when you get into a exercise routine, I would say not when you're doing for 2 months, but let's say you're like, yeah, I'm on a really good routine for the last 6 months. You are probably not doing like a check-in with yourself anymore. Of like, I kind of think of it in the way of like I'm training for a half marathon right now. I'm up to like 5 to 6 miles at the race pace that I'd like to have right now. And I have like had my own self-talk of like, oh, that's not that much, you know? And instead I feel like I need to be like checking in more with myself. And I kind of had a realization when I was talking to a coworker the other day of like, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go for like a quick little 3-mile run at the end of the day. She's like, isn't that crazy that you and I can say that that's a quick little activity? Because you're not having that check-in anymore at all when you're in 6 months of a routine. And you have to have that check-in of like, this is too easy for me now. You know, I need to push it a little bit further. Or wow, just having the realization of, wow, I used to struggle through a mile, you know, and now I'm up to X amount. I think running is probably the easiest comparison of that.
We had a member, shout out Zara Taha, Zara and Whitney, shout out them. They're amazing people. They're on Hajj right now. They're like what is this religious God, what is it called when you go back to like the Holy Land? Anyways, I forget the name of it. But anyways, shout out Zara and Woody. They're doing that right now. They're amazing. But Zara
they're they're not on vacation, but they're out for a bit. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And so I mean, like Zara came in, I think his first mile he did with Orange Theory, his first mile run was like 8+ something. And then like the next time he did it was like 6. She had like 2 minutes fucking run.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so it's like it's just you got to stick with it, and obviously like those small victories, you got to pay attention.
Small milestones.
Because like, I guarantee that you were able to like you started off maybe like a high with this pace, and then like you were probably making those small changes in your pace over time, and you just didn't really notice it. And I think people also like don't realize how easy things are getting for them. And then they tend to think, oh, it's not working. And it's like, well, actually, like when you first came in, you could barely lift those 10s, and now you're doing 20s. but you have to think about it, you have to reflect, and then you have to also like work on increasing that intensity. Because if you stay at a 10-minute mile all the time, then like, yeah, you're never gonna, but it's gonna be easier for you, but you're never gonna like increase it. You have to slowly
You
kind
have
of
to
work on
slowly
that.
push. Yeah, slowly nudge. Yeah, I would say you've got to do that with reps or with weight,
Yeah.
not each time, but probably close to that,
I
of
think,
a little bit here, a little bit there.
and I don't blame people, because I think a lot of people, we get caught up in this fitness background of like, hey, we've done fitness forever. And a lot of people, it's very new for them, and they might not be used to pushing themselves in that capacity. They might be used to pushing themselves in other capacities, but this might be very new for them. And so they don't really know how to do it, or when to do it, or why to do it. And so that's part of what this podcast is about, is just trying to get people to like, hey, we're all capable of this. You know what I mean? Like,
And there's going to be like setbacks too. I always tell people whenever they start in our program, um, progress isn't linear. It's never going to look like a straight line up. It's always going to be jagged dips of, oh yeah, I did 20 pounds, but I had to back off a little bit on this, or I'm really, really sore after I pushed myself. So you're going to experience a little bit of dip and have to go back down in weights. But over time, even as it's dipping, it's still going up,
yeah.
I think people expect, oh yeah, I'm just on the up and up. I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep increasing everything that I'm doing. That's like not realistic at all.
You guys follow Alex Macklin. He's a nutritionist, trainer, really cool guy. And he likes to show these like really cool, like, and one thing that I've always learned from him is like that 1,000-foot view.
Yep, 10,000-foot view, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting that phrase, but
1,000-foot
radius,
10-foot view.
It's taller than most people. But so he'll say like, hey, like if you weigh yourself daily, like this is like a weight loss example. If you weigh yourself daily, you're gonna go up and down. But if you zoom out to 3 months, like if you're on a trajectory downwards, you could very much be losing weight, but like you don't see that in the short term, because you're like, oh, I'm back to this weight. Well, it's like, well, actually, you started 10 pounds higher, but it's been up and down. Like progress is not linear. There are times where I've had to go back and do a bunch of different things to change kind of the way that I routine. Meg and I are not playing footsie underneath the table. We are trying to keep Murph from licking his paws. But we're both doing it at the same time. But yeah, no, you have injuries, you have setbacks, you have things that happen, and part of it is trying to figure out like how to work out with those and what to change with those. And it's like, I don't know, we're all meant to move. We're all meant to move our bodies in some way. So, and what I mean by that is I'm not trying to say like, oh yeah, like get off your lazy ass. Like that's not me.
No.
What I'm saying is that like you inherently have the ability and like the innate plan in you to move. And like you can do it too. And that might look different for everybody.
Motion is lotion in any context, everybody.
And it might start slow. It might start you doing something different. You might be swimming, you might be biking, you might be walking, gardening, whatever you're doing. But it's like you have that ability in you to do those things. And so, it's never a situation where like, oh, I got injured, exercise isn't for me. It's like, fuck that. It is for you. You know what I mean? And like maybe you haven't found the exercise form that you enjoy, and that's okay. Keep trying. You know what I mean? And like even, playing baseball is exercising, like doing this or that is exercising. And there'd be some things that are going to help you hit your goals better. And that's when it's like, okay, well, now I've been moving. So that may set some goals for myself, whatever that is. But like motion is for you. Exercise is for you in some way. Movement is for you.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. That's, yeah. Mic drop there. Yeah.
I think that's a good place to end it. Your first official, I gotta go to bed. Your first.
I feel like
not really,
I fangirled so hard that I popped in.
No, you didn't fangirl. I mean, you do fangirl, and I love you for that, amongst other things. But
what does that even mean?
What, fangirl?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just like you're a really big fan of the show, and you're a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was a different meaning. Sorry.
No, I mean, I know you're not like a groupie. That's weird.
That's what you're thinking. Yes. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're just a fan of the show. I mean, like fangirl carries like a more extreme connotation, but like you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you love me enough to let me turn this den into a podcasting studio / office.
Yeah.
So That's really sweet. Thank you. So shout out Meg for that. Otherwise, you wouldn't have any more episodes. Well, I mean, you would, but you know what I mean? It'd be tougher to do that.
Well,
yeah.
We got our den.
So
for that.
Friends, thank you for joining us on the Average Bros Gym podcast. You can find us on Instagram at Average Bros Gym Podcast. You can find us an email, averagebrosgympodcast@gmail.com. Send us an email, any questions you may have, any topics you want to discuss, things like that. You can also find us on Patreon as well. We do have one of those. I got to update that with some more things as well. And then Corey and I are working on getting some workouts out written by yours truly. Maybe, well, I was going to say maybe Meg will throw something on there, but I was like, I don't know. I don't want to volunteer for that. But something that's going to help you kind of get to where you want to be. So that's that. And Meg, any last thoughts for the people out there about any subject whatsoever at all, anything you want?
Just start.
I like that. Just start.
I'm a very quick, decisive, blunt, direct person. So a few words. Just start.
Just start. I love it.
Whatever feels good for you.
Should we get that tattooed somewhere?
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
We should get that tattooed with like a bee. And like just start a bee exercising.
I have an obsession with looking at bee tattoos. It's very weird.
Oh, it's cute.
It is what it is.
All right, y'all, go get your bee tattoos. Just start, and we'll see you ASAP. Back again. Corey and I think this episode will probably drop after Corey's and I. Yeah. So you'll hear us again. Corey and I'll be back pretty dang soon. Apologize with all the move and everything else. It's been a little bit wonky as far as scheduling goes, but we're back at it, ready to rock and roll. Last week the internet just wasn't working, so I had to fix that. Love that for us. Anyways, friends, have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much, and just start.